Do you personally relate to her? Do you think that you personally are like her in some ways and some ways different?
I think that Cora's probably the biggest departure from myself that I've played in a long time. Since then, maybe I've done a few other roles that are real transformations, but she's not like me in that she's got this completely pure beginner's mind. She is able to appreciate everything new and beautiful around her with a fresh outlook and a real optimism. Which is not to say I'm overly cynical, but I think we've all become pretty jaded and take for granted a lot of what makes this world as amazing as it is, technology included. She really has a fascination for all things. She's also completely selfless. She's an entirely compassionate being, and I would never claim to be that. I think it's something that exists as an ideal in Buddhism, the Bodhisattva. It's what we all should try to be. So I can't claim to have that in common with her, but she's like me in, oh gosh, I'd like to be more like her, I guess. She taught me some lessons. But she's an unlikely warrior, and that's where the Joan of Arc research really came in handy. And I think that being a compassionate warrior and a fighter for good, that's something that I try to be in my life.
What's your favorite book then?
My favorite book?
Yeah.
Well, I agree with her. Jules Verne is great. I love Mark Twain, probably is my favorite author, and he actually wrote, I think, the definitive book on Joan of Arc, called The Personal Recollections of Joan of Arc, and it was his favorite book that he ever wrote. And he spent 12 years in France researching her and had a real love for her. I'd say anything by Mark Twain is probably my favorite author.
Last question, please.
The original Tron, sorry, the original Tron, women didn't really feature heavily. Do you think that's something else?
Well, Yori was pretty badass in Tron.
Kind of, she wasn't in it that much, was she? I get the impression from what we're seeing that you have a lot more of a role to play, much more central. Do you think that's something else that's kind of involved in school with technology that women are trying to?
Huh, that's interesting. I've never thought about that, if that's a reflection of how women are now more involved in the world of technology. I'm not sure. I think that what's interesting about Cora is that she is there not to serve as a device of seduction or just to merely be a love interest. She's existing as a real member of a family unit, because in the end this film should really be about a reunification of a family. And she is, in a way, Kevin Flynn's adopted daughter. And so when Sam Flynn arrives, she has this responsibility to help him on his mission, because she believes in him, but torn between him and his father, who has taken care of him for so long. So I guess I mention this only because I think it would have been easy to make her just a love interest that appears in the film and doesn't really serve the purpose of the heroes. But instead she is quite important as they go on their mission and becomes a guide and a member of their family, and really an important key not only to their mission but also to the mystery of the film itself. She really is the key to our big secret. So I agree with you that I think that she is probably a tougher character, or I don't know, I thought Yori was actually really interesting, and I liked the funny dynamic between all of them in the first one. It's very different. But what I hope is that women will be drawn to this film, not only because they appreciate the same things that men do, which is cool effects, cool cars, cool story, cool 3D, cool everything else, but that they'll be attracted to Cora as a female character that they can relate to, that isn't just a vixen, that is someone who is quite strong and wise and interesting and funny. And I certainly hope that young women who see the film can look up to her in the way that we used to look up to Wonder Woman. There hasn't really been a female character, a real strong sci-fi character for girls to look up to in a while, that isn't just there as a really sexy girl in a suit.
We have time for one more question. Anyone?
Can I just ask about the costume? How important was that to help you sort of get into the character and feel the character? How important was that costume?
I always find wardrobe really helpful in getting into the character and discovering the character, but this was such an incredible process, this wardrobe. I know you've probably heard a little bit about how that all worked. So we had at least 11 fittings, and in each one, a bit more of it would be built, and you'd start seeing what this character would really look like and kind of be made of, and how they'd be able to move. And we worked together as a creative team to figure out which piece really felt wrong and which piece really helped inform who the character was. So for instance, you know, I was really big on as we were talking about Joan of Arc, and I was really thinking of this as armor. And there was the question of, is it a part of their skin, or is it something she puts on to protect herself? What powers does it have? And then that starts to get you thinking about what she's capable of and what kind of person she is. So definitely, I think once I had the suit on, and I remember when the complete suit, which was many months of work, when I had it on and looked in the mirror and they turned the lights on, I suddenly felt Cora's power. And I thought, this is a lot cooler than I thought it would be. And, you know, throughout the movie, you'd be tired, you know, shooting a 15-hour day or something, and then you'd be in the middle of this incredible set, because often they were so beautiful, like that safe house set that you probably saw, the white room, in the middle of the set, and we had battery packs on our back so they could turn us on by a remote control. So we'd be sitting there kind of slumped, like so tired, and then they'd turn on the suits and it would go bing, and you'd look around and just be like, wow.
So it helped with the character actually kind of.
Absolutely. And it also changes the way you walk. Changes the way you walk when you're in this armor. Certainly changes the way you fight. But I think it was really important to me to get into the suit as soon as possible every day. Start working on the work for the day, to start rehearsing it, because it would be an entirely different character without the suit.
Yeah.
So yeah, it absolutely informed who she was.
All right, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Long day for you guys? How long have you been here?
9. Yeah.
Oh,
Sit back.
jeez. Well, you should stay here because the roads are no fun. Okay. Okay. Where's our next